Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth panel of Digilog's Future Tellers series, hosted in collaboration with Zorlu Performing Arts Center and the Istanbul Foundation for Culture and Arts. The main objective of this dialogue series is to have a better understanding of the impact of COVID-19 on creative industry and society, and how it will affect the future. I am Aziz, and I do international contemporary music programming for Zorlu Performing Arts Center.
Hello, everybody. I'm Enric Palau, co-founder and co-director of Sonar Festival in Barcelona.
I'm Gijs Kals. I'm a producer for the Gazoo Festival, which is in Utrecht, the Netherlands.
Hi, I'm Marty Kremers, and I'm an agent at Tactile, which is Primary Talent International.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Deutsch. I run my own agency, Gem Bookings, for the past 10 years and been the head of talent buying at Loveland Events in Amsterdam for the past 6 years as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Uğur Akkuş. I'm a promoter since 15 years for Extreme Outdoor Belgium. And I'm also an agent at the Bliss office in Germany.
We had to stop the activity, absolutely. We were waiting for the first weeks to see how things were looking. We started to study different options to postpone the festival to later in the year, to September, late September, late August, even watching possibilities like changing venue, changing format, everything, rescheduling artists. Then all that big work was for nothing because the pandemic was getting bigger. So quite soon we realized, after a month of work, we realized that even late summer would not be possible. Ticket sales, we were lucky that only 30% of the buyers asked for refund, that we had to refund the money to them. So the rest of the 70, they accepted to keep the tickets for 221st edition.
For new shows, but what we find is that often we confirm, we issue the contract, and then it just gets cancelled because government then changes their restrictions.
First of all, there will be no company who can build our festivals. And second of all, I think we will lose a lot of knowledge. And I think this is the worst part, because we as a promoter work so closely with them to build knowledge together. And if we lose all this knowledge, then it will be a big disaster for us.
Well, so yeah, for Loveland, said what we did is we saw quite early on that that we were quite negative about the perspective for the summer quite early on. What we urged actually the government to do, because first they only canceled 1 month at the time. So next month you cannot do an event, next month you cannot, which was terrible, because that meant we were still, have to assume that we can still do a festival in August, although we were quite sure it wasn't possible. So we basically pushed the government to give us clarity and already say that, the rest of the summer is not going to happen, which we then got, I think it was in April. And the approach we had was to just don't see it as a cancellation, the event, but see it as a postponement to next year. That way, also having a more of an incentive to the ticket holders to hold on to the tickets, as Eric said before as well. So, and what I did was to push that more strongly, because it was very, very important for us that as many as possible ticket holders would hold on to the ticket, because obviously if you have to pay everybody back, it's even more difficult. So all we did is I called every artist and asked them to confirm to move the show to 2021, and I got literally 100% of the lineup to agree to it. So for which I still give thanks to everybody. I mean, everybody confirmed within, I think, 2 or 3 days.
I must add that with all the the grants and subsidies given by the government, for instance. Another thing which was added, by the way, is it's an emergency fund from the government to be able to preserve infrastructure like the festival itself, but also the suppliers. Uber was referring to that as well, because I think that's like it's an essential part of the industry, which is now sometimes forgotten about a little bit because they're not the face of the industry; they're backstage. So that's an important like chain to help as well in this crisis, and this is what this emergency fund is doing.
That it feels like we're last in line when it comes about the industry as a whole. So not me as a company, but as the industry as a whole, to save, for example, nightclubs or events in general. I don't have the exact answer. I don't know how, but the fact that there are conversations with other industries, and I believe so far the conversation with our industry has been low.
This industry will keep working closely and supportively to rebuild the scene and ensure that audience return quickly. And this hard working also includes new understandings in live music. Seems like we will relive at a point with huge efforts.
Attendance and presence. It was a different approach. We just realized that we would not be able to do the festival in 2020, so we started thinking on a format that could happen. Actually, we thought on a format that could still have some physical attendance. Finally, physical attendance was just something very, very little, basically, and it turned into a sort of an opportunity of people participating from abroad. So actually, no international artists could travel to Barcelona, of course. So as you've seen in the video,
we choose to not participate in this way of organizing events, not with streaming, also not with organizing events seated or with bubbles, because this is like, I'm actually against everything that's against human nature. Like
I don't have anything against like trying stuff now, and it doesn't necessarily mean we should keep everything we invent at the moment for the future, but for now, why not experiment? But one thing I want to add, especially with like smaller clubs and venues organizing socially distant shows, they should not forget to emphasize this is not profitable. It's to show we're still here, but it's not profitable. So it's not sustainable. It can happen, and that voice should also reach the government.
So as you may already know, at the end of this panel series, an industry report will be drawn up. It's going to be available on Digilog website, open to anyone, and it's going to be for free. So please keep checking. Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks for being us again. So
thank you.
take care, guys.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Cheers.